Hey, let's talk about one of the areas in my book that I talk about being in silent mode and fixer mode in marriage and in business. One of the things I talk about in the book, Who God Says I Am, is that I didn't even realize I was being silent. I didn't realize that I was even in fixer mode. And I started to notice that I wasn't giving the bills to my husband, or I would feel guilty about, oh, I can't give him this because he's so tired, and oh, I can't do this, I can't, or I have to do it, I have to fix it myself. And one of the things I didn't realize, I was carrying more weight than I should have been. I was so used to being in survival mode that I didn't know that it was silent. I was in two modes, silent and fixer mode. If I didn't feel something at the moment, or if I didn't see something at the moment, I would just be silent. I said, okay, and went along with it. Although I would, and I told you guys about how I'm a dreamer, and I would have these dreams about, hey, this is not a good time, these, storms or whatever. And I wouldn't say anything. And I just kept silent. I had no reason to be, because my husband would listen. I was silent, not in every area, but sometimes in business, I was. And it didn't help anything, because being silent in business and taking on all of this weight, you're not sharing it. And so I had to realize it was a partnership. And I can't just swallow it and say, okay, I'm just going to swallow all this, what I'm feeling, and then here I am in pain, because I feel like I'm overwhelmed and I don't have anywhere to give all this weight to. And one of the things, it'll cause exhaustion, because you'll be exhausted. I mean, because you feel alone, you're not, and I had no reason to be. All I had to do was just tell my husband. And I was unintentionally training my husband and others that I could just do it myself. You don't have to step up. I'll do it all. And I was doing that even with my children. And I had to learn, okay, here's the boundaries. And my boundaries with the partnership and the business, and boundaries in is not perfection. So I can't just say, okay, well, I got to do all this because I don't feel like he can. I'm not even giving him a chance to even look at it. And he can do it. Give it to him. And, or I don't want to overwhelm him with it. And here you are, you're overwhelmed. Now that doesn't make sense at all, does it? And I had to learn, give it to him. And once I did, I was like, oh, he's okay with it. And it was funny, because in my head, I thought that at times I was thinking, oh, I can't give it to him because he's going to, it'll do this, it'll happen with this. And no, he's not going to have time to deal with it. Or no, all kinds of stuff. And I would build it all up in my head, not talking to him. I built it up here. And I had it so built in my head that I would say nothing. And by the time I would give it to him, and I learned how to give it to him, I should say, I saw that it was okay. And what I said in my head was not even happening. But again, it was survival mode. And I had to learn how to just say, I need help and I can't do it all. I will say that what helped a lot was AI. It really helped us in business. And it helped with me giving him things, because those of you know, contracts are a lot. And you look at contracts, you look at, your bidding, and sometimes they're 500 pages. And that's a lot to look at. And so with having AI, it helped to say, okay, well, hon, can you look at this? Because it can break down. Of course, you still read because AI isn't perfect, but it could break down a lot about what we needed, and you can ask questions and understand what was in the bid. So if it's worth us going after, or if it's not, then no, I don't want to go after this because of this, and this. Um, and so you're not overwhelmed. It's not on one person to look at all of those bids. But it also is, I had to learn how to say, if my husband didn't want to do it, even though I looked at it and said, no, we can't, because it's this, and this, and we could do this, and this. And he's like, no, that's not what I want. I had to accept that. If he doesn't want to do it, move on to the next bid. And that was something sometimes I couldn't. I was just like, oh, we could do it, we should, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, he said no, move on to the next one. Because I was expecting perfection. I was expecting, I would say, oh, he's saying no, and, blah, blah, blah. He said no. He doesn't want to do it. Accept that and move on. I sometimes wouldn't say anything because I was like, he's not going to want to do it, or he'll say no. And then I felt like, of course, oh, okay, well, I'll just bid on it. Anyway, well, why bid on something he doesn't want to do? Don't go after everything. Show him. If he doesn't want it, it's okay, and move on. I had to learn that. Or if he didn't look at it, or if he said, okay, I'll get to it, and it doesn't happen. Okay, well, it doesn't happen. That's not on me. I got to give it. And that's not failure on my part. It's not, I'm not trying to perfect everything. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's not on me. And that was something that I had to accept. It wasn't easy. And it was, sometimes I was just like, oh, do this, do that, and run. I learned that it was okay, and to say, okay, well, that's not what he wants to do. And I have to be comfortable with that, because I know, one, that was what physically, what he was having to go out there and do, and having the people and whatnot. It was hard. So we had to change. But one of the things that, the change had to come, but the change had to come in here. It had to come from me first. And I had to be comfortable with it. I had to set my boundaries and be okay with the boundaries. Just like he had his boundaries. If that's not what he wanted to do, then okay. That was his boundary. And he told me that. And I needed to accept that without feeling grudging, like you just saying no to everything. No. If that's what he wanted to do, then you need to accept that. As a business partner, you have to accept that. And so that took me some time. But it brought me peace to say, okay, that's not what he wants to do. Move on to the next bid, because there are other bids. I mean, it's not like that's the only bid that's out there. And oh my God, we're not. No. And I allowed him to look at the bids, and not me going over everything and then not passing it along. So then it became, I'm looking at all these bids all day, and now I've got all these emails, and now I've got all these things. Now I pass the bids to him. I get the email. I pass those bids to him. He says yay and nay. He goes through, because he can use AI. Sometimes when I have to talk to people, and I learned that I was being too short with them, and I didn't even know it, that using AI in my responses, but it also taught me how to respond to even my children. That was a project, because now I'm dealing with adult children and having to talk to them differently, and not as the little kids that I'm used to. Okay, well, this is happening. Okay, well, mom's going to fix that, or rescue you from this and rescue you from that, to you're an adult. and I can't rescue you from it. This is a part of life, and this is what you have to deal with. And it'll make or break you. So if you don't want to do it, I'm okay with that. I'm not stepping in, because you have to live with your choices. The consequences are going to happen, and it'll show what you're doing. So all things I'm learning. I'm relearning who Leslie is and what kind of boundaries I have. And I would like to know, even as women, I would like to know from you guys, what have you learned at your age and your boundaries, whether it's with the children or spouses or business partners. What have you learned to do to change your habits or reprogram yourself? I would love to hear from you guys. Be blessed. Let's talk, and we'll see you soon.